friends, welcome back to the Finance Scribble. If you are new here, I make videos all about the financial aspects of life that I've learned along the way, and I would love to share them with you. It's been a few years, but I thought it would still be helpful to share our wedding cost breakdown. I still get asked about this in my personal life, so thought it would be helpful to share them with you in case you are planning a wedding and just want a ballpark number to reference. If you enjoy videos like this, make sure you subscribe and come back for more. To kick things off, I want to provide some general information to level set so we're on the same page. We had our wedding in Portland, Oregon, and had about 98 guests, and it was in November 2021. So these numbers are a bit outdated, but if you adjust for some inflation, it'll still be a helpful reference, I hope. Also, keep in mind that Oregon does not have sales tax, so all of our expenses didn't include sales tax, which was amazing. Before we get started, I'd like to also mention that my husband and I used our own funds for this and didn't have financial help from family. We're in a super fortunate position where we could afford such an expensive wedding on our own, but our family definitely put in a lot of mental and manual labor, so it was a huge, huge help. I created categories that made sense to me and somehow ended up with 21 different categories. I don't know how that happened, but anyways, here we are. These are high-level numbers for the categories, and I'll also dig a level deeper on some of them. We spent $622 on accessories and wedding prep, which included things like earrings for me, manicures, facials, all of that. We also had an after party after our reception and spent about $266 on alcohol, food, and other supplies. I had both my sisters as bridesmaids, and we spent $914 on them. This included their dresses and gifts we got for them. We spent $308 on our cake. I'll explain more about our cake in a little bit. For our date coordinator, we spent $200. Again, more to the story on this later. For our decorations, we spent $1,127. This included things like bud vases for our table decor, picture frames or signage, votive candles, and the holders, all of that. Our DJ was $1,517. My dress was another funny, not so funny story that I'll go into later. It ended up costing way more than I expected. Flowers was $1,642, which is actually pretty good, and I'll tell you more about it later. Food, beverage, and equipment ended up being a little over $14,000. My husband is low maintenance, so we only spent money on a new suit for him, which was $515. For his groomsmen, we purchased suits for them and gifts that ended up being a total of $695. We booked a hotel room that had a big common area with a kitchen and living room so that the bridal party could use it to get ready in the morning, as well as it was a spot to hold our after party as well as a rehearsal dinner. And that costed us $801 for the 2 nights. We hired professional makeup and hair for me, my bridesmaids, and for my mom and my husband's mom, and that ended up being $1,487. In the miscellaneous category, it included things like our wedding insurance and other random items that I didn't really know where it would fit into, and that ended up being $229. On our parents, we spent $2,591, and I'll go into what we got for them. Our photographers ended up being $6,235, and it was worth every single penny. Trust me, you would want a photographer that makes you feel comfortable and they're fun to work with and just makes the entire experience so special. In Chinese tradition, it's very common to give red envelopes, so we gave our bridal party as well as a couple of recruits that was helping us on our wedding day red envelopes as a thank you for their support. We spent $475 for the rehearsal. We had everyone come over to that common area at our hotel for a catered dinner. This was another area where we were able to save. We had about 15 people for the rehearsal dinner, and going out to eat would have been way more expensive. We took advantage of that common area and just ordered catering, which ended up being a lot of food and at a very affordable price. All the stationery ended up being $523, which included the save the dates, invites, and all of the signage. Lastly, our venue was $4,850. It was a great venue. They had their own catering team, so all the food was in-house. It had a parking lot, so for those who drive, there's space for them to park. We looked at a few different venues, and some of them that we looked at just had street parking, and that didn't really feel right for us. We didn't want our guests to be so hassled with finding street parking during our wedding celebration. Our venue also had this beautiful architecture, so it was the perfect location for our couple photos as well as photos with family members. Okay, let's dig into a few of the categories further. I had no idea that wedding cakes could be so expensive. We really didn't want to spend a fortune on our cakes, so we only got a mini 2-tiered cake for the cutting and display. Then we got what they call kitchen sheet cakes for our guests to enjoy. It's a little hack that I didn't know about prior to our wedding. It's a much more affordable way to do your cake than getting a multi-tier cake that is big enough to share with all of your guests. The kitchen cakes are not decorated and they're just kind of in like a square pan, so it's much more affordable than getting a fully decorated multi-tier cake that can feed all of your guests. And I've heard that people actually spend over $2,000 on their wedding cake, which is just something that we were not willing to spend. And I actually had set an initial budget of $500 max for a cake. So our 2-tiered cake that was 4 inches on the top, 6 inches on the bottom was $150. It was decorated by just some simple flowers, which is perfect. The kitchen cakes was $142 and it was enough to serve 100 people. We also paid $16 for a tasting to make sure we liked the cakes before ordering. Our day of coordinator. She went missing on us about 3 to 4 months before our wedding. We booked her in early 2020 prior to the pandemic, then had to reschedule our wedding, so we didn't actually speak to her for a long time due to just pushing things back, so there was no reason to talk for a while. And so about 6 months prior to our new date, I reached out to her and I didn't hear back. I emailed again a couple weeks later. I called, texted, and nothing. About 2 months later, I think, she finally emailed me back and said she was having problems with her email platform, so didn't get my emails. I was actually quite relieved because I was genuinely just worried about her and if she was okay. Since, it was pandemic, you just never know. I responded to her email and then it immediately bounced back saying there was an error and it couldn't be delivered. And then a couple weeks later, I finally looked up her website and saw that it was gone. So I think that was my final sign that she's no longer in business and she's just gone and disappeared at this point. And this was about 3 months from our wedding and we didn't know what to do. It's too close to find another coordinator who is both available and in our price range. We didn't want to pay a crazy amount for it either. So we ended up moving forward without a day of coordinator. The $200 was how much we paid her as a deposit, which we won't get back, unfortunately. And also a note is that the $1,900 that we were originally going to pay for her services is actually a pretty good price for day of coordination. Some of the other places we looked at was more $2,500 to $3,500. So I guess we got what we paid for. Okay, now my dress. now looking back, I don't know why I wasn't more stressed out with this and the day of coordinator frustration. I'm surprised I came out of that only a little bit stressed. So I purchased my dress for a little over $1,500. I got alterations done with this one person, and it was just not going how I wanted. I had gone back and forth with this person probably 4 times at this point, and every time it felt like nothing changed, and she wasn't doing the changes that I kept mentioning, and I finally just gave up and took a bit of a long break since we had pushed our wedding back anyway, so I didn't want to think about it. But eventually I found another person to work on it, and so I ended up paying alterations twice, even though I didn't need it twice. So ended up paying a lot more for the dress than I had initially anticipated. Flowers was another area I didn't want to spend a fortune on, especially on something that will die after a few days. I went the dried flower route and only did fresh flowers for the centerpieces, as well as for mine and my bridesmaids' bouquets, and then the groom and groomsmen's boutonnieres. For the fresh flowers, we actually went with a local grocery store that also had a floral department to do our bouquets. It's much more affordable than going with shops that specialize in wedding or event florals. It's crazy, the wedding markup. So I did go with one of those places though for the flower arrangements on our kind of arch that we had as our backdrop for the ceremony, and because this grocery store didn't actually offer that service. So the food, beverage, and equipment is broken down into $7,554 on food. We did plated service, so it was a little bit more expensive, but I preferred that way more than a buffet. Nothing wrong with a buffet, it's just our preference was to plated. We also had an open bar and beverage, which ended up being $2,281. The venue didn't come with any equipment, so we rented all of the tables, linens, utensils, dishes, glasses, and all of that came to be $3,495. We also paid the venue team for labor, which included servers to do the plated dinners, bartenders, and also included the gratuity for them, which ended up being $1,260. We were very happy with the food and drinks. It was honestly amazing, and I wish I could have it again. Lastly, for our parents, we got both sets of parents' outfits to wear to our wedding. The dads got custom suits made, and moms got formal dresses and shoes. We also gave our parents gifts as a thank you. For the moms, we got them really nice earrings, and for dads, we got the watches. So in total, we spent $43,050 on our wedding. This is a huge amount, but we had the best time and have a lot of amazing memories from that day. So it was honestly so worth it. We actually initially went into our wedding planning with a $40,000 budget. So pretty proud that we ended up being very close to that. And I do want to note that I know this is a lot of money, and there's absolutely no reason why you have to spend that much. It was just something we really wanted to do, and I know that there's different priorities for a lot of people, and so what we spent on certain areas may not be what you are willing to spend. You know, maybe what I spent on cake is so low for you, but you're willing to splurge on a really, really nice cake. So don't take this with like, oh, you must do this the way we did it. It's just some guidance and references for you to go off of, and for you to do what feels right and is valuable for you. So let me know in the comments if you have questions about a specific category, or if you have general questions about our wedding cost breakdown. But thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and come back weekly for new videos. Happy scribbling. Bye.